All right, everybody. So to round out this episode, we have a very special roundtable discussion, including myself and Will. But most notably, we have DM Brandon here. How you doing?
Average to normal day.
Yeah, seems about right. And Alphazealot, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Cool. So we
Gotta
have
one
them
up me.
on.
That's fine.
We have these two on to talk about very important things concerning Smash Brothers and the community and all of that. So I guess we can start right into this. No fluffy stuff here. The Unity rule set, the BBRC. Alpha Zealot, can you tell us whatever you'd like to talk about, and then DM, you guys sort of throw ideas back at each other, whatever. Go for it.
Well, I guess the biggest thing to talk about right now is that on July 2nd, for the first time ever in Brawl, every single tournament that weekend used the same rule set. That's never happened before in Brawl, and I don't think that ever happened in Melee either.
Definitely never happened in Melee.
So, I mean, that in itself is a huge milestone. There were 9 Brawl tournaments that weekend. Every single one used the Unity rule set.
Including the European tournament?
I'm only talking North American, or America, because that's the only thing that Unity applies to.
I burst bubbles.
It's all right. Actually, I do believe the European tournament that weekend used Unity as well, but don't quote me on that.
Well,
Again,
they don't even understand English anyway, so...
Yeah. Well, some of them do. Anyway, and then the weekend after that, July 9th, of the 7 U.S. Brawl tournaments, 6 used the Unity. The only other one that didn't was Vinny's tournament. So far in July, 93% of the tournaments have used the Unity rule set.
I think you mean Yes's tournament. Vinny was actually...
Sorry. Yes, Vinny's tournaments were in June. Yeah.
Right.
Whatever. Anyways, so that it's a pretty big milestone, and we're starting to hit some of the goals that we laid out when this entire endeavor was announced back in mid or early April. So that's probably my first point right here.
A lot of people ask me all the time what I think of the rule set, and just for the record, I love the idea of a Unity rule set. This Unity rule set, however, of course, I would take off PS2 in a heartbeat because it's the world's lamest. I would really rather play on Spear Pillar. I think it's less intrusive. It's just, I hate that win so much. It just alters the entire game to the point of almost unplayability. Aside from that, I love it. I mean, I think it's great. It's just, I think the Unity rule set needs to focus a little bit more on the Melee side of things too. Because right now, this is, I think, furthering the segregation between the two communities, that we have a leader now in Brawl and no one's taking care of Melee. And while the Melee purists might listen to the podcast and say, oh, our community's doing fine, bad news, losers, your game sucks and no one plays it anymore, and that's bad news for all of us. Okay? I don't know if a lot of you know out there, but Smash 4, as of right now, has no competitive value. There are no GameCube slots, and if the system functions like the Wiimotes will not be able to function in a tournament scene. You will not be able to have 60 people in a room trying to play friendlies and play. It'll be interference all over the place. No one will be able to do moves. I mean, how does anyone know how many channels are on the Wii for Wiimotes? What is it, 16, 24?
It's around like 16.
Right, exactly. So we can have 16 players playing at once, and then everyone else has to sit on the side of the room and, stroke it out. And that's crap. So for right now, we need to make sure that this community becomes one in the same. Not Melee community, not Brawl community. No one's better than anyone else. No one's making any more money than the other person. Actually, I think Ally's making a lot more money. But, if it was a pound tournament, no one's making any money. See? We're all brethren. Shout-outs to Plank.
But
just a slight correction there. I have to remember this from back when we were looking at Wii remotes for, the first MLG event. But I believe it's that the Wii remotes operate on a Bluetooth channel, and there's something like 256 frequencies or channels. And the way Bluetooth works is it's actually constantly syncing randomly between those channels to have the clearest or best signal.
Okay.
So, although technically you could run 256 devices, they're going to be interfering with each other because they're constantly switching channels. They're going to randomly sync up here and there. And at MLG events, there's a lot of Bluetooth signals going on in there. I think the PS3s had it. I think 360s have it too. Even, we had to use Wii remotes to set.
Bans wireless. They banned all wireless.
Oh yeah, no, they ban it, but at the same time, this console still broadcast. So it's a problem. There's like literally a wireless cloud when you go into an MLG event. So much so that my mouse and my computer would sometimes not work. When you tried to turn the consoles on, literally if you're not right next to that console, like step 2, 3, 4 feet away, the Wii remote will just stop syncing. Like the problem is though, it's random. You know, sometimes it works 3 or 4 feet away, and then sometimes it's like, we're just gonna go haywire for a second here. But yeah, just slight correction there. It'll be a mess. Yes.
No, thank you for the correction. I mean, I don't do the research on this kind of stuff.
Yeah, Smash 4 will be a mess for the reason you're saying. I just want to be more correct on the technical term.
I mean, this is a new market for maybe Mad Cats. Maybe they can make a GameCube kind of branded controller for us if the system will allow USB. Because if you've ever tried to plug a USB controller that's not the Tatsunoko stick into it, I mean, even that doesn't do that. There's no controller for the USB ports, effectively making them useless. Like, what? Charge your iPod. Great. I can charge my iPod. Not that I would have an iPod, because, I hate Apple. Shoutouts. But
yo, I'm on my iPod right now recording this podcast.
But
it's okay. It's my first MP3. Just got it for Christmas. I feel you.
Congratulations.
I don't like Apple either.
For right now, we have to focus on making the two communities a whole. And the unity rule set is a great way to do that, because I love the word unity. We're trying to bring everyone together. Majors, especially because Apex is coming up, having a unity rule set up until Apex to get everyone on the same page for every single tournament would be great. But we need someone to step up and take care of that. Like, I don't care about Melee, so I'm not going to do it. I mean, Alphazealot used to be pretty big back in Melee.
Yeah, actually, I'm still running my last last 4 tournaments I've run. 2 of them had Melee at them. I think I had 48 entrants too for one of them. But most of them were casual players from the college area. We only had like 10 Smashboards players.
Whatever, new players are a thing.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's so easy to get people to show up to a tournament, especially if you're in the college setting. Put up some flyers, like, get the word out. It's really not that difficult. Smash is a highly played game, both Brawl and Melee. But a lot of people just put up advertisements on Smashboards and all is Brawl and call it a day, and you're only broadcasting to the community that already exists, not to new people.
Exactly.
But as for Melee, I wish they could all start using the same rule set, and it's going to take someone to step up, and it's going to take TOs to agree with each other. And I can tell you, just organizing and getting the Unity rule set underway, and I guess while I might have spearheaded the endeavor, it's not just me. It's it takes every TO that's a part of the process in order for it to work.
Of course.
And getting these people, myself included, to agree to stuff. It's so difficult. You have to compromise, and at the end of the day, you're going to have TOs who simply only want to look out for their own tournament. And we ran into that. Strife was one of those people. Like, respect to what Apex is and what he's done with the tournament, but at the end of the day, he's looking out for his own tournament and his own numbers, and not for the community as a whole.
Well, this Apex actually is focusing on a little bit different. Like, he's not completely closed to the idea of a unity rule set, so long as it's fair. As of right now, this rule set, in my opinion, still is way too liberal. I'm okay with the infinites, but the fact that there's stages like PS2 on, like, I don't see how many people could overlook that, aside from the fact that most tournaments, like, think about Katar. Katar is not making a ton of money off it, but he likes to have a good time. And by using the Unity rule set and gets all those advertisements out, he gets a lot of hype for his tournament. Alex doesn't need that. He doesn't give a shit if he's going to be on Smashboards. I can tell you now, I've seen the Apex website. It's gorgeous. Okay, when this site opens up, it's not the best website in the entire world, but for a Smash registration website about a tournament, it's godlike. It's absolutely godlike. And all his Brawl and Smashboards can close down tomorrow, and he would do okay. So he's not worried about being one of the TOs that's going to be affected by the punishment of not being sticky. He doesn't. Seriously, real talk. He does not need a sticky. But he's not completely close to the idea. But the rule, right off the bat, I don't know a single person besides, like, assholes like Esam. Esam, I love you, but you're a jerk every time you pick it. Pick this stupid stage.
Well, Pokemon Stadium 2, based on the MLG data, was like rarely used. Out of 3 some what was it, almost 3,500 matches. I think it was selected like 17 or 19 times, like some
You know
absurd
why?
number.
Have you ever played on it?
I think in that entire time, I don't even think anyone banned it out of 3,000 possible.
Well,
but at the same time, there was other things to be banned.
No thought to ban it because why would it be on?
But at the end of the day, I'm not really here to argue about whether Pokemon Stadium 2 should be legal or not, because I believe that's an opinion question, really, at the end of the day. And I can tell you right now, when you're looking at the scheme of the entire country, which is what you have to do when you want to talk about uniting everyone under the same banner. I mean, no one's opinion is really worth any more than anyone else's. And
that's absolutely false. My opinion's worth at least $9. I got paid $9 to give my opinion today.
Okay.
I'm not paying him, so.
Except for you, DM.
There you
go. Looking at the tournament hosts and what the majority opinion of the majority of tournament hosts in the country is, there just really isn't a solid enough reason to remove PS2. I mean, you bring up the wind transformation, and that's pretty much, that's 30 seconds where you just camp the ground.
But forcing people to, if you want to talk about Pokemon Stadium 1 and a wall, all you have to do is avoid DDD for a few seconds. You can go on top of the tree and you'll be fine. But in Pokemon Stadium 2, during that wind phase, you limit the game. If you jump into the air, you are putting yourself in such a horrible place, especially against characters like Meta Knight or Snake. If you jump in the air as any character against Snake, and Snake jumps in your same DI, and then you air dodge, you take 29%. He nairs you every single time. If you jump against Meta Knight and air dodge, you are dead. You lose a stock for that. Because he just goes up air, jump up air, and then Rufio's the hell out of you.
That would depend on the character, actually. Because you look at a character like Pit, who has his glide, he has his arrows. Like, if Meta Knight jumps against Pit, Meta Knight's in a lot of trouble then. Because not only you below Pit, whose up air is sick as hell, but especially when you've got a really slow fall speed, keep in mind. But you also have arrows to deal with. And Meta Knight also cannot plank during the air transformation. Think about that. Like, everyone complains about how bad, or how good, I should say, Meta Knight's planking is. Well,
but he doesn't need
I
to
actually
plank.
wanted to add something that I probably shouldn't mention, but it was just very recently discovered this morning that there is a way to combat Meta Knight's planking, and it is frame tested, and it is safe. And it does really, it kind of changes the game a little bit. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention it, though.
Right?
No, it's with any character.
I look forward to Geimer's video.
Yes, I'm not going to say anything, but I'm just saying that there are ways around it. And also, in reference to, like, not having enough evidence to take away PS2, I'm almost positive that, like, I know the East Coast is very conservative with the rule set, disregarding New England, because they're all PS2 whores.
Yep.
Other than that, like, I'm pretty sure we haven't had PS2 for maybe like a good year and a half, 2 years. Like, we haven't had that stage for a long time. So it was more like an addition of like a variable that we've never had before, which is why a lot of us are so uncomfortable with it. So it wasn't really.
I'm not uncomfortable with it. I think the stage is broken. I think WarioWare holds way more ground in competitive play than PS2.
I think the problem with PS2 is that it just, as much as it may be a legit stage for maybe most of the time, every minute, every second of a match really counts. And to be in a position where if you leave the ground, you're so vulnerable to most high-tier characters, especially Meta Knight, Snake, or Wario, something like that. It's such a bad position to be in. It's like, yeah, you can camp for a little bit, but that's not like something you want to keep in a game. It's not like that's something I wouldn't want that in a competitive game.
Like, I would understand if, like, and this is absurd, but adding maybe like a minute onto the clock if you're going to go to PS2, because people are just going to pretty much not fight on that part if they know it's good for them. Because people are just going to just camp it out the entire time.
The biggest problem is a lot of players use the clock. I know a lot of players who focus strictly on clock play. And think about players like Orion and Delta Cod, who, if they get down and they are in the lead by just even a little bit and that wind transformation comes up in the last minute, you just lost 30 seconds trying to get that lead back, because there is absolutely that you cannot. There's no way you're safely going to chase a Meta Knight or a Yoshi in the air place. There's no way to make a comeback in that kind of thing. Think about what Capcom does. Capcom's putting X Factor and Ultra combos into the game specifically for comeback purposes, and we're adding stages that take it away. And that's the opposite, because they know what they're doing. Obviously, we're idiots.
I'm going to be, I guess, honest for my personal opinion here is that I've sort of exited this whole stage debate a while ago. I mean, personally, I don't really see there's anything wrong about PS2 in the sense that we need to drop the stage from the counterpick list because there's other stages that get banned before PS2. I don't think it really randomizes results, but at the same time, and again, speaking just for myself, I don't care enough about the stage to spend another 5 minutes on this chat talking about it. But you have to look at the majority of TOs in the country, and you got to convince a lot of people that there's something wrong with it. I mean, as an example, outside of essentially the tournaments that happen in New Jersey, and when I talk about that, I'm more or less actually just talking about Vinny's tournaments. But tournaments that aren't using Unity rule set already, like I'll just throw some examples out here. Let's see. I have to go back a couple weeks here because there's really not many tournaments that aren't using Unity right now. But all right, you can look at the week of June 25th, right? That week, 10 tournaments used the Unity rule set, right? So that's 13 stages that are legal. 4 tournaments did not. Of those 4 tournaments, one was a play and trade in New York even that had 21 legal stages. Another one was a tournament in Illinois run by R.O.B. It had 14 legal stages. It had the old Unity list that included PictoChat. Another one was a tournament in Ohio. It had 18 legal stages. And then finally, there's a tournament in North Carolina that essentially was the Unity rule set, except infinites were banned. So, like, just looking at that one weekend, and I can go back further weekends too, and just show you the spread. It's not that the Unity rule set is too liberal, because when you compare it to the tournaments that aren't running Unity, most are actually running with more stages, not less. The only exceptions to that really are things like Vinny's tournament, where he's running with 11.
Run by competitive players.
Well, I mean, you're essentially then only going to call one tournament in the entire country run by a competitive player. I mean,
well, Vinny, who else did you have? I mean, Vinny's one of the best players in the country right now.
Let's look at tournaments that were run with Unity rule set. I'll just read off the names. Sure. I'll go back 4 weekends. So July 9th, 2nd, 25th of June, 18th of June. All right. Here's who ran tournaments Unity rule set: Trent, Denty, Mav, Yink.
Wait, no,
that
doesn't count because
Doswa,
you have the Unity rule set with a penalty system. If you don't run this, your tournaments don't get sticky because I'm friends with the.
These are competitive players that are running.
I want you to show me tournaments that don't run Unity rule set.
You asked me to read off, right?
More stages or less stages. Don't run Unity rule set. More stages or less stages. Go.
All right, let's see. July 9th, only one tournament did not use the Unity rule set. It was a play and trade run by Yes. That had 11 stages.
Play and trade. It wasn't out of play and trade.
That's all I know is that's what it's called, all right? Nothing July 2nd ran without Unity. All right, June 25th. I already read those off. That's the ones where, let's see, XS Snap ran with Unity rule set except for infinites were banned. The Keist ran with 18 legal stages. R.O.B. ran with 14 legal stages. And some dude named Crazy something ran with 21 legal stages.
That's the MLG rule set. That's what they do. Like the one from the MLG season last year. That's what they run.
That's even more than the MLGs. That's got to be like the BBR.
Well, that's apparently because I know what play and trade is. They have they take it from MLG, so maybe they changed it.
That's the thing is the people who are using these rule sets, they're using pre-made rule sets they find on the internet. There's no competitive value in them. When you add stages like that, I mean, the infinites can be argued either way. Personally, I don't care. You shouldn't be using shitty characters. But when you limit the play, when you make the play slower, because right now I couldn't care if every player in the country came up to me and said, this game's boring. Okay, that wouldn't make a difference to me. It's when the stream monsters tell me this is boring. Our game is dying because we don't have people watching it. And when you put on stupid stages where people are jumping around for 30 seconds at a time, not fighting, it's making the game boring. It's killing the game.
I mean, I gotta disagree with that though, because when you turn on the screen or the stream, right? What stage are you watching that happen more often than not on? Smashville.
Exactly, because it's the most competitive stage.
But at the same time,
you get assholes who like to plank and be jerk-offs and jump around the screen and option to do that for 8 minutes, and then someone causes a pausing rule at the 7:30 mark, and you have to start the whole thing over, and the set turns into 40 minutes when this kid's just trying to watch Mewtwo King body somebody. elites.
I mean, my
But
point
then-
is, if you're going to get upset about, I guess, PS2 for, whatever, for lasting a while, you gotta be an equal opportunity offender here. You gotta be mad at all the play on Smashville, which times out more than any other stage. I mean, come on, you got to recognize at least that there's a problem with Smashville. If planking is a problem, when it's not planking, it's scrooging. When it's not planking or scrooging, it's air camping. I mean, the stage is just, it's the biggest offender for why a match will time out.
But it's
compared to
also
any other
the
stage.
most played match. That you can also say that's the stage that doesn't time out the most. Like, it's the most played stage. It's in every single set. I couldn't name a set at Yes's tournament that didn't have Smashville on it.
I mean, as a Diddy Kong player, quite obviously, I like Smashville. All right, so I'm not going to argue that Smashville is a problem. I'm just saying, well, it kind of is a problem, but I would argue more the mechanics of Meta Knight than Smashville.
I would agree. Ban him.
Yeah, stupid character. All right, I think we're getting a little off topic.
Well, let's talk about that. Banning Meta Knight.
I say ban him.
All right, well, I guess we can segue into that if you guys want.
Well,
But
I would like to throw out my opinion personally. I'm just a random, but I at least know enough about the game. I watched the game enough to know. I don't, to be honest, I don't know why banning Meta Knight, at least in doubles, wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea.
Well,
Maybe
I can see Meta Knight being completely dominant in doubles, but
Right.
Meta Knight has so many options. It makes doubles fun to watch.
That's true. See, that's the thing I was about to say. Is Meta Knight in doubles is different because how much that's going on in doubles makes Meta Knight a lot more interesting because he can make anything happen. It's when singles, when Meta Knight uses those options to shut down one character and not two, that it becomes a problem because
agree.
you don't have a teammate to help you out. That's why Meta Knight isn't, I guess, as broken in doubles. You don't have it, like if Will, for example, playing as DK against the Meta Knight in singles is a lot
he already
different
lost.
than doubles. Yes.
He loses involved a lot. Right, Will?
Not really. I kind of mastered that matchup. Anyway, I think that going back to Meta Knight in doubles, I know that Vinny was actually talking about this
He
recently
is
because
apparently
he is
Right.
one of the most conservative TOs right now, and I mean, I kind of see where he's coming from, where he's saying that like double MK and doubles is just like you said, it has so many options. Like it literally outclasses other teams in the amounts of options that they have. But it's
I
not
agree.
even just that. It's if you look at Yes's most recent tournament, pretty sure in like the top 8 to 10 teams all either had double MK or one Meta Knight at least in each team.
Well, originally, MLG had the rule where
Yeah, I was about
one
to
team couldn't have the same character. And
Yeah.
normally I would have been okay with that, but honestly, that felt like an attack at me and Shadow.
Yeah. Wait, was
The
it?
whole-
I thought it was only Meta Knight and Meta Knight that couldn't team.
No, it's any character.
No, that was a typo though in the rule set. That was never
Alright.
supposed to be there.
Yeah, but-
that agreed because they ported something over from the Tekken rule set that was never supposed to be there.
Yeah.
It was corrected within like an hour.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I
But
almost started
but I
crying.
remember
when
I
that
remember
wrote.
the backlash though. That was when.
Oh yeah, a lot can happen in an hour. Don't
yeah,
get me wrong.
yeah, I remember. 'Cause
Me.
I mean, I remember that because DM and Shadow and VVV at the time, and I was like, oh well, about that, our team going to Orlando, but. I
Me and
mean,
Nick were very mad.
right? Yeah, I remember that, and I was like, well, because at the time, it made very much sense. Even if Meta Knight is broken as or overpowered as we know in singles, in doubles, it's a different story. It's a different kind of game, and more people are worried about, I guess, Meta Knight overall or Meta Knight in singles rather than Meta Knight in doubles. Even if it is Meta Knight.
I think we should drop Raw singles altogether, just run melee singles, and then drop melee doubles because it's horrible. And then just run the other two events, and that'd be great.
I like
And
that.
that would get a lot of
communities
people
are
into both
completely
games.
separate though.
I don't know.
And
It's
that's-
pretty
and that's a
fun
shame.
seeing Kage and X win with Ganon Pikachu. Just saying.
I agree.
Yeah. So I mean, but Meta, Az, you said you don't really like the character, but what do you think about a Meta Knight ban? Like, how could maybe not necessarily the ban, but like where we're at in the community? It's been 3 years. How could that even happen at this point?
Well, I guess and this is again this is me talking from my own perspective here. I'm not speaking for anyone else, but I guess part of the beauty of the Unity rule set, and more so just a committee of TOs working together, is that something like a Meta Knight ban could happen. because that's what happens when you have an organizational structure, when you have people working together, when they're, you can make sweeping decisions that immediately affect almost every tournament in the country right away. 6 months ago, we were never in a position, the community, to have that happen. It just could not happen, simply speaking. So, the existence of a rule set committee in itself gives a little more, I shouldn't say credibility, but, a little more chance to it happening.
I
But
can
the
actually I can attest to that, because I know that we, in our region, maybe a few times, and in other regions, we did try MK band tournaments, and they were not very successful at all. Like, they were just kind of looked over.
Problem, though,
They were very few and
that,
far between.
Yeah.
That's a problem, though, on East Coast, because 80% of our players are Meta Knight mains.
Yeah, New Jersey breeds Meta Knights.
That's what we do. We pick
Yeah.
faggot characters, and we main them.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest problem is that Meta Knight, from the TO perspective, touching the issue, it's like Kryptonite. I'm not going to be the guy to bring it up. I don't know who would really, Zero's on the committee, right? And he has not brought it up yet. And
Who is?
Zero?
From New York?
Zyro? I don't,
Samus.
Zyro.
Oh,
Wait,
Zyro.
is it Zero?
No, I'm pretty sure it's Zyro.
I don't like him. Who cares?
Oh, well. No, you
'cause
you
there's
talk
a Y
to him,
there.
he's an awesome guy, and he knows his stuff. I mean, you can make fun of it for remaining Samus, but at the end of the day, he's run more tournaments than anyone else in this community. I think he's run more 100-person tournaments than anyone else, so he's done his due or his share in terms of contributing to the community.
I respect what he does. I just don't like him.
But, again, to get Meta Knight banned, something catastrophic has to happen, like, at this point, to cause someone like myself or Zyro or, just somebody to be like, we need to talk about this and possibly take a vote on it. At this point, Meta Knight's stupid good, but he's not stupid good enough to make us think we're going to lose, tons and tons of tournament attendance every weekend. The tournament community is basically pretty stable. There's a slow downward trend, but that's going to happen with a game that's no longer new, where people are going to go off to play other games. That's, it's pretty expected. I wouldn't say anything outside the norm is really happening. And then the worry with banning Meta Knight is that at this point, something like a third of people have Meta Knight either as a main or a secondary. So if you ban Meta Knight, yeah, right. So if you ban Meta Knight, does that mean our tournament numbers are going to drop by a third? I don't think that's the case. But that's something you got to look at. You can't, from a TO perspective, you can't just ban Meta Knight and be like, oh, okay, I hope those Meta Knight players still show up to my tournament. It's just not something you want to do. Like I said, you're screwed either way. Ban Meta Knight could be a quick drop off in attendance. Not to mention, there's going to be a ton of outcry, a ton of whining and moaning, and it's going to make the community look bad. It's going to bring all the eyes back on the Smash community. So you got to keep all those factors in mind. Or you can keep with the status quo. We've got a slow downward trend, but again, it's not something so fast that I think, next year we're not going to have 400 tournaments. So those are the things you got to weigh. And for me, my eyes are on Genesis right now and what happens there. And I think that's the case with a lot of TOs too. It's what's going to happen at the biggest tournaments. At MLG last year, people kept saying Meta Knight was going to dominate, he's going to crush, but it didn't happen. I don't know why.
You did a good job getting rid of Mewtwo King, and then everything was fine.
Well, we can talk about splitting too at some point if you guys.
I don't care. I had to throw that in there. Putting Mewtwo King on blast is a hobby of mine.
Yeah. And without Mewtwo King there, I guess we saw 2 Sonics in the top 8. How's that happen? Those Sonics walked away with over, between the two of them, they walked away with over $5,000. So, but yeah, I guess
salty.
Yeah. Sonics are the crazily placed in the tier list character. Like, I don't understand. Like, they shoot up like 16 places. They place trash everywhere else. They come to MLG and make thousands of dollars. I don't even understand.
Yeah, I think after what I saw at MLG, the new tier list doesn't really reflect how good Sonic can be. He should be up there with more characters like probably Lucario, D3, like somewhere around 13th or 14th. He's got a bunch of characters ahead of him that've never done jack at any national ever or beating any notable players ever. And yet, we have two Sonics in that tournament that, just absolutely crushed. They beat top players of the best characters in the entire world. And yet, Sonic got, a two character boost or 2 position boost on the new tier list, so...
I'm also pretty
I
sure
don't
that...
even look at what the BBR puts out anymore. It's nonsense. They have no idea what they're talking about. The BBR is filled with people who have no idea what they're talking about, like Will.
Sadly, I think Sonic might even have more potential because of that video that Gamer just released about the DK up B, whatever. Like,
right.
Sonic has pretty much the same properties, and if they can come up with something with his... his
great giving them the idea.
He's testing it right now, probably.
Yeah, everyone, if you're listening to the podcast and you haven't seen the video, Metagame Minute Episode 12, shout-outs to VG Bootcamp, Donkey Kong's Invincicopter.
Yeah.
I'm never going to use that word again. I just want to throw that out there.
Invincicopter.
Oh, my God.
You just use it again.
No, I said I cut myself off.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, yeah, but the tier list is weird, and you heard it here first, by the way. Sonic is 13th, actually. But the tier list is always weird because, as we just see, the game, as much as it doesn't change, like, for example, StarCraft, which changes almost every day in terms of the metagame. I mean, Smash does change. I mean, the tier list came out, like, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and, DK is now godlike.
I wouldn't say godlike.
Well, that's Will's word, so. But, that's that kind of thing is sort of weird with terms of characters. But one thing I did want to actually discuss is maybe the people who do run the community aren't necessarily looking at the biggest issues, more worrying about where characters are on the tier list or matchups.
Rather than focusing on how to build our community,
right.
Stop being money-hungry dick faces.
Yes, yes.
Shout-outs to all of you.
I mean, that's part of what this whole Unity endeavor is about, though, because when you're fractured and no one's working together, it's really hard to grow the community. Like, now we have the TOs working together, there's already some backdoor discussions, could we do a national circuit next year? Can we, at the very least, plan events around each other?
I love that. I love that idea. But none of that's got to be more open.
Well, like, none of that's even possible, though, like, without this endeavor. And, like, you guys want to have 1,000 things right away. And when I, think of things, I never think something has to happen instantaneously. There's a step-by-step process. Right now, it's still foundation laying. I'm, like, very happy, for example, that, every single tournament on July 2nd was a Unity tournament, and that 93% of tournaments in July have run the Unity rule set. But this is still just one step in a process that is evolving, it's changing, and it's becoming more sophisticated. We're bringing more people in. We're going to add some new TOs soon. Like, would I like complete transparency back there? It's something we weighed, but at the same time, you guys want to think about rules. I shouldn't say you guys, but some people want to think about rules and make it a ginormous discussion about, you're really just theory crafting, like what's competitively better. Well, if you adhere to only the brokenest stuff should be banned. There's a bunch of different philosophies, and they clash. So if they see someone like me say, like, guess what, guys? I actually don't care if PS2 is legal or not. Whatever most of you guys think, I'll support. They're going to say, well, that's scrub talk. It's like, well, at the end of the day, I'm running a tournament, and I'm going to go with what I see as the best thing, and the best thing to me is whatever the majority thinks is the best thing.
Well, that's what it should be anyway.
Well, and that's what I'm trying to tell you. With PS2, the majority of, at least the BBRC TOs, which is, most of the hugely active TOs in the country, think PS2 should be legal. That's the way it is right now.
The problem with that is hugely active TOs don't mean they're competitively sound. Like, Keitaro is a really good TO. As a player, average. Seriously.
Oh, I mean, you guys, so what, you're going to say that Alex Stripe is competitively sound as a TO?
Absolutely not.
All right,
I'm competitively sound. That's why I'm on the staff. I'm there to throw ideas, run ideas back, be the party person. I'm trying to help everyone. And by getting the Unity rule set into Apex, it helps everyone. Because you can say Genesis and you can say fucking Ktar. They're bullshit compared to Genesis. I mean, not Genesis. Apex. Apex is the apex of Smash. It brings everyone together in the same place from all over the world. I mean, people are talking about like, oh, 2 of the Japanese are going to Genesis, and I'm pumped for it. I love when the Japanese come here. I mean, that's one of my favorite things in Marvel, that I get to meet more Japanese. But Apex brought in 6 before we even knew their names. Like, that's important shit. And
I mean, I can't agree.
it doesn't
more.
matter what the Unity rule set does without Apex.
I mean, the international participation is huge. All right, so like, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, there's going to be, between now and Apex, probably in the vicinity of 150 to 200 brawl tournaments,
Right.
involving between 1 and 3,000 players, which is far more people affected by the Unity rule set than one tournament on one weekend with 200, 250 people.
But what you don't understand is that one tournament is our chance to bring in new sponsors, huge amount of new players.
I'd love that to happen, but
that's
as it
what's
right
important.
now, it's either
Right now, it's building the community. You're trying to strengthen the community, and that's awesome. But building the community is our number one priority. Our species is going to die if we don't procreate.
I mean, that's exactly. I mean, I agree. That's the point of the Unity process. Like, again, we're laying the stepping stones and the foundation of what's going to come. And imagine where we'd be right now, where every single tournament in this month ran with a different rule set, and where we could be next year, where again we have a month where 2, 3 nationals attempt to, run in the same month. We have Sis, Katar, and CEO, and I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, COT 5, all within 4 or 5 weeks of each other. Those are all supposed to be 200-person. Well, except Katar, I guess that's a 100-person tournament, and it got there because Katar was awesome. But
yeah, I don't know how
those are all supposed to be like large tournaments, right? But you can't attract most of the community if the TOs aren't coordinating with each other, and they're not trying to spread their tournaments out, and they're not planning far, far in advance. So you want to focus just on Apex and making Apex huge.
Yes, that's exactly what I want to do.
That's fine, but Apex is going to come and go, and we're going to have 300 to 500 tournaments next year, and we have to have a way to run those. We have to have a way to run the big ones away from each other and in a coordinated fashion, so that people can go to the large tournaments, so that people can participate in the ones that they want to go to that are local, and not have to worry about 2 tournaments in the same state even being on the same day. That's all about getting TOs talking. And, you want to talk about Apex. The one TO who's not talking to anybody and working with people is Strife. It's either, he was involved in the BBRC initially, but he absolutely, if he didn't get his way, that was it, And that's not the way it can be if you want to work with other people. The rule set as it is not my ideal rule set. I don't think it could be anyone's ideal rule set, because it's a rule set of compromise, and that's what has to happen when you have more than one opinion and more than one person forming a rule set and also working to build the community.
But we're 3.5 years into the game. This isn't the time to experiment anymore. It's the time to. We already have our foundation.
Am I asking you to experiment? Like,
every time someone plays PS2, it's a fucking experiment.
Okay, but fast forward, or I should say backtrack to 6 months ago or to a year ago. On a given weekend, your rule set variety, there was not a single rule set almost that had the same rules.
I don't understand why you're arguing about this when I'm telling you I love the idea of a Unity rule set. It's godlike, but that doesn't mean that we should be allowing these TOs who are barely competitive players at all. I mean, if you put any one of those TOs in a tournament, and like the idea of them getting out of pools in a top 3 out of 6 advance it would be mind-boggling, then they shouldn't be back there talking about the competitive value. They should be back there talking about, like, I'm going to host this tournament. Does anyone have the problem with that this weekend? Because we can coordinate. That's the kind of shit that you're doing, and that's awesome. However, when they're going to talk about, I want PS2 at my tournament, and I don't see why I shouldn't be able to run it because it's my tournament, and then they start being assholes about it, fuck that. Now, I understand Alex Strife is doing that, but Alex Strife has done more for this community as a TO than anyone else. And you can argue that Zyro does the most because he runs the most amount of tournaments, but it's the same people coming every week, week after week, to the same hobos over and over and over. Alex Strife is bringing everybody over here. And while I don't support everything he does, he's absolutely right.
I mean, I couldn't disagree more, though, because, one, look at the people in the BBRC.
Okay.
Mike Hayes, myself, ESAM. There's 3 people right there, and there's only like 12 or 13 in there that, we get out of pools at nationals. We actually place pretty highly.
I don't think ESAM counts in this discussion because if ESAM had his way, characters would be random and all the stages would be on, and we'd have items. And
right.
I agree with that.
ESAM is aware of that though. So when he's in the BBRC, he's arguing from a position where, what can I do to work with you guys to get something that I want? Maybe not everything I want though. He's in favor of PS2. He's not the only one. All right. You're completely against it, but like this discussion really is should be about you convincing all the TOs out there. Like, it's not about me because I have no more say when it comes to voting on a stage than anyone else.
Well, I mean, this is not really just about me and you. This is about to everyone that's listening out there, and everyone should be forming their own opinions. And if you disagree with me, that's fine. I mean, everyone has their own opinion, but everyone needs to start voicing their opinion. This is very important. Open a thread. I don't care if it gets locked. Fuck the Smashboards mods. Open that shit up. Tell them how much a stage sucks. Tell them how much you love it. Tell them how Luigi Mansion makes fucking Olimar more viable. Like, who cares? Tell us your opinions. If your thread gets locked because some random-ass red name who got his red name last week decides he needs to uphold the law like he locked fucking Havoc's blog, then he'll do it. And then you can make another one. Who cares? But everyone needs to have a voice. If you're going to have a stupid voice, you're going to get yelled at, but it's still a voice.
I mean, I don't disagree with that. I read far more on Smashboards than probably almost anyone out there. I love to lurk.
What's Smashboards?
I love to see. Okay. The site you were just talking about.
I don't know what you're. Nope.
And that also, that includes All Is Brawl too. Although the discussions on All Is Brawl are a little different than Smashboards, and we can talk about that.
Have you seen My Little Pony? Like, I hear it's really good.
Yeah. Right. But if you want to focus on just one tournament a year to grow the community,
that's what Evo. That's what SRK does. They gotta go. But then again, their games are.
I mean, like, Evo's not focusing on just one tournament a year. At this point, they're trying to get tons of tournaments roped into their structure.
That's true, and I think everyone's doing a pretty. I mean, the Unity rule set did a good job with that, and now Apex is doing a good job with that. I mean, there's a lot on that road to Apex, and they're all using the Unity rule set on the road to Apex, which I think is great. And getting Strife on board with that's pretty good too. I mean, that's definitely something that needs to happen, whether it's the rule set I want or not. Alex, I definitely think we should be complying.
I mean, I'd love for Apex to use the Unity rule set, but it should be the Unity rule set and not the Alex Strife rule set, and that's what it's going to look like at this point in time. It's either his way or no way at all. And I mean, you can say he's done more in the community than someone like Zyro, and I think that's debatable. I mean, you could even look at someone like me. I helped get us into MLG. MLG had 70,000 in prizes last year. Average tournament attendance of over 170 people.
Fucking
and then I helped organize Ohio Circuit. I've run locals. I've helped run regionals. Brawl and Melee going back to like 2005. So
I still think you're too quiet.
That's the thing, though. I'm not out there. I guess these podcasts are among the few times where I really put my voice out there, because I'm not trying to be the loudest person in the room, and I'm not trying to tell people that I'm always right, and I'm also not trying to be the one to make myself, I guess, this figure, where I guess.
I don't think you can have it both ways. Either you need to appoint somebody to be like your community manager. I recommend Pierce. Or you need, because if you're going to figurehead this thing and you're going to tell people, like, if your tournaments don't run this, you don't get sticky, you need to have a bigger voice in the community explaining things on a week-by-week basis of what's going on back there and how things are going. Because right now, it just seems like you guys are doing exactly what the BBR did. And I don't know if you've been in the BBR lately, but it's fucking terrible. Terrible. Because all the top players hate it. I mean, I was in that BBR for 10 seconds when Brawl came out, and I told everyone back there to suck a dick. I mean, everyone who was anyone in this game went back there, and if they're still back there, they ignore it completely. I mean, it's pointless. It makes no sense back there anymore. And eventually, maybe not right now, maybe not in a week, maybe not in a year, but eventually the BBRC is going to turn into this mess because you don't have a voice. I mean, once a month, a poll goes up. Hey, guys, you want this? You don't want this? You want ban Meta Knight? Like, yes, fucker, we want to ban Meta Knight. No, we don't want to ban Meta Knight. And that's the only thing we have to talk about. There needs to be someone with outreach, someone who's dedicated to the cause and wants to speak up every week, hold a podcast, come on DI every month, go out in the middle of the street, go to your neighbor's house and go on their internet and show them all as brawl. I mean, someone has to do something to make the community understand that there are people who give a fuck and they're working. And they're working hard, because right now it seems like, if this is from my perspective, and I know better, but this is the community perspective, is that the BBRC is a group of TOs, most of which who don't matter. They once a month maybe talk about some shit, get absolutely nothing done, talk about the Unity rule set, and then Alphazealot posts about how people are doing things wrong and carts them. That's the BBRC right now. I know better, and I know you're doing a great job, but the community doesn't.
That's actually something that I've been thinking about a lot recently, and I'm in the early phases of doing something, I guess, to get my own voice out there a little more, but also to talk more about Smash and some other things that I do in the esports world, ranging from MLG to my personal loves of StarCraft and Call of Duty. But I'm investing some money right now, and I'm hoping I can get up and running a show. I don't know if you guys ever seen DJ Wheat shows or Day 9 shows.
Of course.
Yeah, so I'm currently investing in the equipment to run something. I don't have the money to put up what completely equivalent to what DJ Wheat is running, but I've got enough money. I'm planning on investing between about $500 to $700 to get something running up on my own end, and I'm hoping to do weekly, if not more often, shows. And not podcast style, but more, live. I don't know what the word is, live blog or live chat, or
I don't know, have games on there. That's going to be a felony soon.
Oh yeah,
that's for another show.
That's for no. I don't even want to talk about it.
DI episode nothing.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so I'm starting to work on that, and I'm hoping that by early August, I'll have it up and running. I had a goal to try and maybe get something rough up before Genesis, but I've got a bunch of things ordered on Amazon that have not arrived yet, and I don't want to put up something that is basically crap. So
no, I feel you.
I'm working on it. I'm aware that the problem exists, and there's so much about this community that I can talk about that I know I'm one of the few people that know. Like, I can run off stats. Like, for example, in the last 12 months, between June 2010, June 2011, there were over 500 tournaments with 4,800 unique players. Now, that's really strong. And if you compare that to other communities, well, you can't, because the Smash community is freaking awesome. We're the only ones that keep that kind of stats. Period. So the other communities.
I'm not trying to argue this either way. Do you honestly believe that 4,800 people, is not being brought in by either Marvel or Street Fighter?
Oh, I think there's about that many, or possibly more, but they don't have the stats to prove it. All they can tell us is that it's happening, and that once a year they hold a huge tournament, which, by the way, they never actually post the official attendance numbers to. So what? How many people were at Evo last year? Well,
there was 1,027.
No, it was between 1,700 and 1,900, depending on when you listened to the stream and which commentator you were listening to.
Wow.
The year before that, it was around 1,200. I was at that Evo. But this is my point, though. No data tracking, and that's a huge, huge thing in the Smash community. We keep track of more data than any other community out there.
Shout-outs to Dazwa. Shout-outs to Ankoku. Being awesome, doing crazy things.
Rajam, keeping the player database.
Yes.
All these things, right? And it's just stuff, just the tip of the iceberg of things I could talk about, which unless you meet me in person, I'm probably not going to mention.
Now, I think this actually really ties into everything concerning attendance, and I just wanted to interject here in that I do agree with everything you guys are saying about how the Unity rule set is going to be great for the community and just unifying everything all together. But I wanted to go back to what DM was saying and about how we have an opportunity to procreate, because if you look at Street Fighter, if you look at MVC, if you look at all the games taking place at EVO, the developers for those games, they support those games.
It's way beyond support. The games are bred.
They're built competitive. They're built for competitive gaming, and
except for
like it's obviously a shot in the dark here with Smash 4, but if there's any chance whatsoever that we could get at least a little bit of, say in what Nintendo is doing, which we already know the direction that they're pretty much going in terms of their target audience. But I know that Alex did mention he was discussing with Triforce Game Master, who's obviously associated really highly up with Nintendo, something about Reggie coming to Apex. And I don't know if it's just obviously a rumor that Alex would spout, but if there's any possibility of getting Reggie to just come, that's like an amazing PR possibility in
I was thinking
itself.
about going on a hunger strike for it. I think I could do it.
You know what the thing too is, and that's a really amazing thing, and we all know that, or at least we should all know that Smash 4 isn't actually in development yet. And the thing is though is that that kind of thing is amazing though, but as a community we really need to show more of what our game is and in a really good quality through streams, through all of those kinds of things, because we can't bring Nintendo representatives to every tournament we do to show them how awesome it is. We bring Reggie to Apex, and you know what? That's an amazing thing. But we have to present ourselves not only to Nintendo, but to people who aren't necessarily competitive smashers or competitive gamers. And I know I made a blog about this on All's Brawl. I know DM touched on this on one of his blogs, but the quality of the content that we make in this community is not at the par that it needs to be to show that Smash is actually a marketable game and is something that's
used a really long definition for fucking abysmal.
Yes. I mean,
but you know what? I've talked to VG Bootcamp, both of them. Well, Gimmer and Apostle.
Right.
I've talked to them both, and they said some of it's fact, some of it's false, some of it's rumor. But I can tell you, everybody, that they've told me that they are fired up. I mean, we're talking HD streams. I mean, for the people, obviously, but we're going to have much better quality streams. I mean, I don't know about the rest of the tournaments. Apex, we have already 4 commentators on board, 2 for Melee, 2 for Brawl, and a great schedule. I mean, everything's going to be released soon.
Yeah.
Well, who the commentators? Like, I gotta be honest, because I'm tired of watching streams.
No, don't worry about that.
And watching people talking about fapping it.
No, don't worry about that.
mean,
that is not on the plate. I have this covered. I mean, I'm not one of the commentators. I'm hosting Apex. Everyone show up, come say hi. It's going to be great. Except for people that I don't like.
It happens at every tournament.
No,
the commentators
not this time.
It's their time to shine, to make funny comments, to make jokes, and I'm thinking the whole time, like, wow, if I was a guy at Nintendo right now and I was watching this,
exactly.
I think this is professional, or I think this is the most immature community I've ever seen.
No, exactly.
And there has not been a tournament to date where the commentary has been a professional enough quality that I would actually want a sponsor to watch it.
I think the finals at Apex 1 were okay with me and Panda.
I agree with that.
I think they were okay.
Maybe then, but like you're talking about one match, 20 minutes,
literally one match
out of an entire tournament. I mean, when a stream happens, we've all been there at tournaments. It's whoever the popular person is, they want to hop on and say their 2 cents. I agree,
and that's not going to happen at Apex. It will be fenced off. There will be 2 commentators for Melee. There will be 2 commentators for Brawl. All 4 of which will be versed in actual commentary. I have every intention of coaching the 4 of them to make sure they're being as professional as possible. There's not going to be talks of, what's fappable or not. That fucking word makes me want to punch people in the face.
Yeah.
We're not going to hear about what they did this weekend unless it's, at least somewhat relevant. They're trying to fill airtime. There's going to be professional interviews. The lighting's going to be good. Everything's going to be great. That stream will be godlike. And this is why I'm focusing a lot on Apex, because if Reggie does come and we have this professional outlook on the community, plus the Unity rule set, the whole thing's going to come into play, and it's going to look amazing.
And that's the kind of thing that we want to have. I mean, I know I was talking to Alex, and I think DI will have some stuff going on with that. But, I mean, that kind of stuff is amazing. But if you look at the stuff the community has, like, it's good and it's great. And we have to stay on this this track. We have DI. We do our podcast. I know Havoc does the Electric Scribble. He has his podcast, which is like West Coast kind of stuff. We have VG Bootcamp. That's all great stuff. We have to continue doing stuff like that and recording it and keeping it saved and showing people these things and making it really, really good quality so there's no complaints about it and everyone can be like, wow, this is really cool stuff. That's the stuff we got to do. And I feel like when I go to like Alphazealot, like, oh, look at this blog, and I'm like, oh, look at this stream where people are talking about, Fappin and whatever they did that weekend. That sucks. We can't do that anymore. And I completely agree with you guys, and I love that you guys are doing that, especially DM, because that's really hype.
By the way, my hat's off to you guys. Rapture Will, you consistently doing this, and I think you're almost approaching a year now.
Yeah.
Rapture's my favorite random.
It is not.
Thank you.
It's a tough thing you guys are doing, and I can guarantee you, at least, I guarantee you guys are underappreciated. All right, so like I try and listen in every week, and I know there's other people to do too, but you guys probably don't hear it very often. But what you guys do is awesome, and I completely agree though with your revamp here that has just occurred with week 40, because week 39 was just a mess. And that's not just because I got put on blast, but
No, I definitely agree with you. I feel like and not to go on off too much of a tangent here, but when we do this for the community, and we wanted to do the web show as more of a way to show more benefits for the people watching the show. It wasn't something that we wanted to do. Like, it wasn't something for me to put my face on the show, like, hey, look at me, whatever. So I wasn't just a random anymore, which I still am. That wasn't it. It was, we wanted to make the show better, and we didn't see those benefits. And because of how it was set up, it came so vulnerable to just being completely sloppy and random, and that's exactly what it was. So we decided to sit down and realize this is not what we want to do. People loved how it was. At least that's what we were under the impression of. So we took the week off and we decided to come back at this full force. And like I said, we do this for the community. I know Havoc does his shit for the community. VG Bootcamp, they do it because they love the game, and that's why we do it. So as much as you may say we're underappreciated, you know what? I can't argue with that. We'll still do it because we still have a lot of passion. I think that's one of the things that the community definitely has for it, is that we have so many passionate people like you, like DM, like Will, even like Nakat, who's just chilling there, who's still actually in here.
Who's Will?
You know what? I don't know who Will is.
By the way, when we went to E3, Rapture and I wore my DK tie, and we were in the
so
Nintendo
many
booth.
Compliments.
I got some high level compliments. He's like, you couldn't have worn that tie in a better place right now.
You really couldn't have. Like, that was, but then someone was like, "What's that tie from?" Like, oh god.
Oh, what?
Face to palm. Face to palm.
They were hired Asian models.
They were. They
didn't speak English.
And he was so hyped.
Those are the best Asians.
That's my fetish.
But
But
we're definitely passionate about what we do. And once we realized that, like, the whole video thing, like, we're way better off just like having fun, just like talking.
Okay.
And we're gonna leave the video stuff up to like Metagame Minute, who's doing like top of the line editing and like perfect quality. We'll leave that to those guys.
And we don't want to step on any toes either. And we want other podcasts. We want other content. We don't want to be the only thing, because that's not good for Cat. Go away. Stop it. We want other community kind of things. So that's what I've been telling people. Like, people listen to me, like, do your own thing. Go do it. We're not trying to be the only thing here. So we love hearing other, people trying to do their thing, and we love that people appreciate what we do to some extent. So, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say enough. You guys are awesome. Well done.
Thank you. And I appreciate that DM thinks I'm his favorite random, which makes me feel very happy.
And thank both of you guys for joining us multiple times. I want to say you've both been on around 3 or 4 times on the show.
I believe they've both been on.
This will be my second and final time.
Second and final. No more DM.
Yeah, I could probably talk for forever.
No, we love having you guys on, and we got to do these 10 episodes. So, and with that, actually, and this has been a while, and I hope you guys all enjoyed the show. So we're gonna wrap it up here. I want to give huge shout-outs to Nakat, who was on the show earlier, who's still actually lingering here, but you can hear him. We had Siegel for an interview earlier, so thanks to him for doing that. And then, of course, DM and AZ for being here and talking about the important topics that matter the most. I hope you guys all tuned in and listened to that in some way, shape, or form. Not only because it's important, but because you were actually just listening to it, and it wouldn't make sense for you to just cut to the outro. You guys can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, no MySpace. That shit
MySpace?
You know what? Honestly, it's like it's so like quick in my head, like MySpace, and like I didn't even have a MySpace account for myself, but we have a Facebook group, Directional Influence. You guys can click the little search bar, search us up. We have members, but we need more. That's hype. Twitter, you can follow me, /VVV Rapture. And, of course, we're on VVV, where all our episodes are posted. We have a link for Smashboards, and all as well. You'll be able to see the blogs. And
Big fan of VVV. Big fan. Love what they're doing.
Yes. And
before we go, most important topic. Everyone who hasn't, you need to go to my blog, find the donation button, click it, donate $1. Me, Ether, Ninja, Ed, and Zuko, we're going to Evo. We're going on a bus. We're poor as hell. We need all the help we can get. We love you. Everyone who's donated, you're heroes to us.
You know what?
Guys.
You know what? I'm going to make it official right now. After this episode is done, I will donate $25.
Yo!
I'm going to actually do that.
Can I still donate?
Of course you can.
Yeah, we will leave the link for the blog for all you guys to donate. Please do it because 100% Juice is trying to get over there, and we love them. So we're going to go and try and get them to go to EFO because it's a good cause. And I am officially going to donate $25 after this, as well as buying a shirt that says Rapture on it because I need to rep my randomness, and I'm going to do that. So I'm going to spend $35 tonight. I don't give a fuck. Anyway, thanks for listening, everybody. I hope you guys all enjoyed the show, and we'll hopefully catch you guys next week for episode 41, where I don't know what the fuck we're doing, but if you listen to this, you must know that it's weekly awesomeness. So thanks for listening. This is Directional Influence. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.